On the Red Sea coast of Egypt, just off a quiet stretch of shoreline near the town of Dahab, there is a circle of impossibly blue water that looks, from above, like a flaw in the seabed, a perfect dark eye staring up from the reef. Tourists swim in it, beginners snorkel over it. It is one of the most beautiful and popular dive sites on the planet. It is also, by many accounts, the deadliest. Locals call the cliff beside it by a grim name, and the rock face is studded with memorial plaques, dozens of them, names and dates of divers who came to this gorgeous place and never came back up. Some estimates put the death toll at over 100. Others say the real number, counted over decades, is far higher, into the hundreds. They call it the Blue Hole, and they also call it the Divers' Cemetery. This is the story of how a place this beautiful became this lethal, in the single feature, deep below the surface, that does almost all the killing. Let me describe the Blue Hole, because its danger is hidden in plain sight. It's a roughly circular marine sinkhole, a vertical shaft in the reef that drops down over 300 feet. The top of it is gentle and inviting. Warm, clear, shallow water full of fish and coral, perfectly safe for snorkelers and casual divers. You could spend a wonderful, completely harmless afternoon there and never come close to danger. And that's exactly the problem. The Blue Hole doesn't look dangerous. It welcomes you in. The lethal part is far below, out of sight, and the only people who reach it are the ones who choose to go looking for it, drawn by a feature that has become an obsession and a death sentence for divers from all over the world. That feature is called the Arch. Deep down the wall of the Blue Hole, at a depth of around 180 feet, there is a tunnel through the reef, a natural archway that connects the shaft of the Blue Hole to the open sea on the other side. To swim through the arch and out into the blue beyond is considered one of the ultimate dives. A rite of passage, a thing divers come from across the globe to attempt. And it is the arch that has killed, by most accounts, the overwhelming majority of the people who've died here. Because to reach it, you have to descend to a depth that punishes the human body and mind in ways that are almost perfectly designed to be fatal. Here's the killer, and it's invisible. At around 100 feet down and deeper, breathing ordinary compressed air starts to do something strange to the human brain. The nitrogen in the air, under pressure, becomes intoxicating, a condition called nitrogen narcosis, which divers describe as being drunk underwater. Your judgment fades, your reaction time slows. You become confident, dreamy, careless, and critically, you lose your ability to accurately judge your own depth and situation. A narsed diver at 180 feet might feel completely fine while making catastrophic decisions, swimming deeper instead of shallower, missing the arch entirely, losing track of their air, their time, their direction. The deeper they go, chasing the tunnel, the more narsed they become. And the more narsed they become, the worse their decisions get. It's a downward spiral, in the most literal sense. And depth has a second invisible knife. The deeper you go, the more the oxygen you're breathing turns toxic under pressure. Past a certain depth, normal air can trigger oxygen toxicity, sudden convulsions, blackout, loss of consciousness. Underwater, with no warning, divers chasing the arch on ordinary air have pushed past the depth where their breathing gas itself can kill them, and many have. The Blue Hole's most common fatal story is heartbreakingly consistent. A diver descends looking for the arch, gets narsed, loses track of depth, sinks deeper than they ever intended, and either blacks out from oxygen toxicity or simply runs out of air far too deep to make it back to the surface alive. One of the most haunting cases ever recorded happened here. And it's the reason so many people know the Blue Hole's name. A diver descended with a camera mounted to capture his dive, and instead, his camera captured his death. The footage, which became infamous, shows a man sinking far below safe depth, struggling, narsed and in distress, unable to arrest his descent, the seabed of the shaft coming up to meet him. He died well past 200 feet down, his final minutes recorded by his own equipment. It's one of the most chilling pieces of evidence of just how the Blue Hole kills, not with a dramatic collapse or a monster in the dark, but with the quiet, invisible chemistry of depth turning a capable diver's own mind and breath against him. So why do people keep coming? Why, with a cliff full of memorial plaques staring them in the face, Do divers keep descending toward the arch? And this is where the story becomes about human nature as much as about the cave. The blue hole is beautiful, it's accessible, it's famous, and the arch represents a challenge, a trophy, a story to bring home. The very deaths that should be a warning instead become a kind of dark allure, the sense that this is a serious place, a real test, a thing only the worthy can do. Overconfidence does the rest. A diver who has done deep dives before, who feels strong and capable, looks at the arch and thinks the same fatal word we keep coming back to, probably. I can probably make it. And the blue hole, with its narcosis and its toxic depth and its welcoming, deceptive beauty, collects the ones who were wrong. What makes the death toll so staggering is that it accumulates quietly, year after year, decade after decade. No single disaster killed all those divers. There was no one catastrophe. Instead, the blue hole has taken them one and two at a time, steadily, for as long as people have been diving it, a relentless drip of preventable deaths, each one a person who thought the rules didn't quite apply to them, or who got narsed and made one bad choice at 180 feet. The plaques on the cliff aren't a memorial to a single tragedy. They're a running tally of the same mistake, repeated by different people, over and over, in the same beautiful lethal water. And here's the part that should really land. The blue hole is not, by the standards of cave diving, a technically extreme site. Properly equipped, properly trained, diving the right gas mixtures and respecting the depth limits, experienced technical divers pass through the arch safely all the time. The site doesn't kill the prepared, it kills the unprepared and the overconfident, the ones who descend on ordinary air, who chase the arch without the training or the gas to survive the depth, who let the beauty and the fame lull them into forgetting that 180 feet of water is 180 feet of water no matter how blue and warm the surface looks. The blue hole is a near-perfect machine for punishing the gap between confidence and competence. So what do we take from the diver's cemetery? The lesson is one of the oldest and hardest in any dangerous pursuit. The most lethal places are often the ones that don't look lethal. A jagged, obviously terrifying cliff makes people cautious. A warm, beautiful, popular swimming hole makes them careless. And careless is what gets you killed. The blue hole's body count isn't a product of how extreme it is. It's a product of how gentle it looks, and how easily that gentleness disarms the very caution that would keep people alive. Real danger doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it's the most inviting thing in the landscape. It's worth asking why a warning as stark as a cliff full of memorial plaques fails to stop people. Because the answer reveals something uncomfortable about human nature. You'd think that diving past dozens of names of the dead, on your way into the same water that killed them, would be the ultimate deterrent. For some, it is. But for others, the danger itself becomes part of the draw, proof that this is a serious place, a real test, a thing that confers status on whoever survives it. The plaques, meant as a warning, get reread as a challenge. And underneath that is the oldest cognitive trap there is, the unshakable, irrational belief that the bad thing happens to other people, not to me. Every one of the divers named on that cliff almost certainly believed the same thing on the morning of their last dive. The memorials don't stop people because each new diver quietly exempts themselves from the very pattern the memorials describe. That exemption, I'm different, I'm careful, it won't be me, is, in the end, the deadliest current in the whole blue hole. There's a discipline that the divers who survive the blue hole share, and it's not bravado. It's the opposite. It's humility. It's the willingness to look at a famous, beautiful challenge and say, honestly, I am not equipped for that today, and to turn around. The arch will always be there. The depth will always be lethal, and the only people who get to keep diving it for years are the ones who treat its beauty with suspicion and its depth with fear. The cliff full of plaques is, in the end, a monument to everyone who didn't. Let me make the danger concrete, because the blue hole's reputation isn't built on vague risk. It's built on specific, documented deaths that all follow the same script. One of the most infamous involved a diver who descended with a video camera intending to film his dive, and instead recorded his own final minutes as he sank far past safe depth, narcosis and the weight of his gear pulling him down into the shaft where his breathing gas turned toxic. That footage exists. People have watched a man die in the blue, unable to stop his descent, and it stands as the clearest possible evidence of how this sight kills. Quietly, invisibly, through the chemistry of depth rather than any dramatic catastrophe. There was no monster, no collapse, no equipment explosion, just a capable person who went too deep on the wrong gas, and a brain too narcissistic to save itself. Here's the thing that ought to change how you see the whole site. The blue hole is completely survivable for divers who treat it correctly. Technical divers pass through the arch safely on a regular basis. The difference between them and the dead isn't luck or bravery, it's preparation. They dive the right gas mixtures, blended specifically so that the oxygen won't turn toxic and the narcosis won't fog their minds at the depth of the arch. They have the training to manage a deep, overhead, decompression dive. They plan their gas, their time, and their depth with precision, and they treat the limits as inviolable. The arch doesn't kill the prepared, it kills the people who show up with ordinary recreational gear, ordinary air, and an extraordinary amount of confidence, and who descend toward a 180-foot tunnel as if it were a swimming pool stunt. The site is a machine for exposing the gap between how dangerous something looks and how dangerous it actually is. And that gap is the real reason the death toll keeps climbing. A genuinely scary-looking place makes people cautious, and caution keeps them alive. The blue hole does the opposite. It disarms you. The warm, clear, shallow water at the top, full of fish and snorkelers and sunlight, sends every signal that this is a safe, friendly place. The lethal part is invisible, far below, out of sight and out of mind. By the time a diver is deep enough to be in real danger, the narcosis has already begun softening the very judgment that might have saved them. The sight lures you in with beauty and then takes away your ability to recognize the trap, all before you've consciously decided to do anything risky at all. That's what makes it, by many accounts, the deadliest dive site on the planet. Not that it's the most extreme, but that it's the most deceptive. I want to know what you make of this one. Why do you think people keep descending toward the arch, year after year, even with a wall of memorials staring them in the face? Is it courage, ego, or something deeper in us that's drawn to exactly the things that can kill us? Tell me in the comments. I read them, and this one fascinates me. If this story got to you, hit like so it reaches more people, and subscribe before you go, because next time I'm taking you into a vertical squeeze where a caver got stuck fast in the rock and was left, for a time, with nothing but the dark and the hope that someone would come back for him.